Standing By. The Terry and Ted podcast is brought to you by the UPS Store Canada. Now with over 400 locations across Canada.
Hi there. Welcome to another edition of the Standing By podcast. I'm Terry DeMonte. That's Ted Bird. That's a very formal opening for this week, eh?
I like that, though.
Yeah.
I like the formal opening.
Almost-
It's not the way of the world these days with podcasting. But it's what we're used to.
Yeah.
I mean, what with us being professionals and all back in the
I
day.
was going to say, it almost sounded professional. What the hell? The Standing By podcast, we say it every week. There's a hillion, billion, jillion podcasts, and we're glad you downloaded this one. We're going to have a guest a little bit later. We're going to cover some stuff at the front of the podcast, being a Montreal-based, Montreal-focused, Montreal thing with the Montreal guys. We like to talk about some Montreal things up front first. We have to say thank you to our good friends, our title sponsor, the UPS Store Canada. If you go to the upsstore.ca, you'll find everything you need to pack and ship, to print, to get yourself a mailbox, to find yourself a passport picture, to print things online, to calculate what it'll cost to ship something across the country. It's all there online. Or even better yet, you can go to one of the more than 400 locations now across Canada. You'll find a location near you, no matter what part of the country you live in, except for Churchill. I think we've established that there is not a UPS store.
There is not a UPS store in Churchill, Manitoba, because if there was, everyone would be eaten by polar bears on their way there.
Right, so not a good place for a franchise. The UPS store will solve your problems if you have a business at home or you've got something you need to ship to Aunt Ellen in Brampton or Brandon.
I don't think there's anyone named Ellen left in Brampton.
Okay. Good point. You get my point. Anywhere you've got something to go, the UPS store can handle it. Go to the upsstore.ca. Ted was my knight in shining armor yesterday. Thank you, Ted. I appreciate that very much.
Not a problem. That was an unfortunate turn of events for you.
It sure was.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was a big deal at the time. I was getting a little panicky. I've got a car that I like very much. I've been driving a Lincoln for over 10 years now because, I turned 60 and I figured I better get a Lincoln.
Yeah. They don't make Oldsmobiles anymore. I guess I'll have to get a Lincoln.
Anyway, this particular one that I've got is a real lemon, and my friends at 440 Lincoln have been really patient with me and really terrific.
You've been really patient with them as well.
Yeah, well, actually with the folks at Lincoln, but the gang at 440 Laval have been amazing. Well, we spent some time there yesterday chatting.
Yeah, they were very nice.
With Lisa and Sebastien and Stefan and Robert and all the other people that have been looking after me, because my car is in there every couple of weeks.
And it's always the same problem.
Yeah, so it's a computer whoop-de-doo thing that I don't know anything about. And it always does the same thing, and it always strands me somewhere. And Ted came to my rescue yesterday, so thank you, Ted.
Well, I appreciate you being stranded just around the corner from where I live.
Not too far.
I live in Point Claire. Terry got stranded in Dorval. That was quite convenient. Better that than being stranded in Boucherville.
Yeah, between you and at the gang at 440 and Dave.
Dave's towing.
Yeah. Yep. It all ended well yesterday.
Good old Dave. I've called Dave on more occasions than I care to remember.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I owe you lunch.
No, you don't, but you're welcome.
Okay, thank you. There was a couple of things I noticed in the paper that I'm just dying to talk about. One is if you live in the Hampstead, Côte St. Luc area, apparently they're going to, if you've ever driven down Ellerdale, if you know what street I'm talking about, it kind of reminds me of the opening of, remember the old TV show Daktari? With the
vaguely,
the Jeep, Daktari, with the Jeeps driving through the jungle. That's what it was like to drive down Ellerdale. They announced this week that they're going to demolish it and repave the whole thing.
Why is it all potholes?
Oh, and potholes doesn't even begin to describe it, and it's been like that for years and years and years.
Really? I'm surprised the Jews put up with that, to be honest with you.
Well,
and I say that in the most complimentary and loving sense.
Somebody must have got to City Hall, because they're going to start in June, and it's going to take a couple of months. So there's going to be a few Rue Barré signs up, but it's going to get taken care of. That was something that caught my eye this week. Also, this is just the greatest story. This is such a Quebec story. The CRA, the Canadian Revenue Agency, has told the city of Laval that they need to pay $1 million to the former mayor Gilles Vaillancourt, who went to jail for corruption. And they want the city to give the former mayor $1 million so he could pay taxes on the money he stole.
I'm trying to follow that.
The city of Laval may be required to pay $1 million to former mayor Gilles Vaillancourt so he can pay taxes on money he collected through a municipal corruption scheme. The current mayor is urging the federal government to exercise judgment in the matter. The people have already paid a heavy price for his fraud, they said. In court, Mr. Vaillancourt admitted he took part in a conspiracy to use his position as mayor to fill Swiss bank accounts with millions of dollars. He returned $8 million to the city at the time, which was put into a fund to help disadvantaged youth. Mr. Vaillancourt got a 6-year prison sentence, and according to a report by Radio-Canada, the CRA wants Laval to pay $1 million to Vaillancourt so he can pay taxes on the stolen money.
Why shouldn't he pay them out of his own pocket?
The broadcaster says the agency is seeking to collect 14% on the sum of roughly $7 million. They first attempted to collect the money from him, but his lawyers argued it should come from the city because he gave the money back.
Aww.
Have you ever heard of anything so ridiculous in your life?
No, but you're right. That's a truly Quebec story.
He took the money, was awash in corruption and, Swiss bank account stuffing. Mm-hmm. And now the city of Laval has to write him a check for $1 million.
In other words, Laval taxpayers.
Yeah, Laval taxpayers. Yeah. How's that for a good story?
Where do I sign up for that?
Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention about this, it's all a bit political, but it's Montreal news that I thought I would mention because it caught my eye. It didn't take long for the folks in NDG. There's a councillor in NDG, Peter McQueen, says he doesn't like the idea of the proposal to install parking meters across the stretch of Sherbrooke in NDG. The Côte-des-Neiges NDG borough is set to vote to put parking meters where there was free parking on Sherbrooke, because God knows you can't have free parking.
No.
Right? And oddly enough, one of the folks that's in support of the parking meters is a guy named Jason Savard, who's the spokesperson for the Association of Pedestrians and Cyclists of NDG. Mm-hmm. And he said, cars parked on the street have been kind of a nuisance. And he said most customers of Sherbrooke Street businesses could just walk to the stores or take the bus. Anyway, those are two things that got under my skin, and I thought maybe I would mention them. And the other big story this week, too, I don't know if you saw the pictures, but they took the Bay sign down off the Bay building downtown.
I did see that, and your friend and mine, Kevin McDonald, mm-hmm. Kevin pointed out on social media that for 80 years before the Bay sign went up, it was Morgan's.
Yeah.
So it's the end of an era, but
change.
When the Bay sign went up, that was the end of an era as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when the Morgan sign came down, because I don't know what year it was, but
72.
72?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when it came down, and my parents were kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
Because Morgan's was such a Montreal staple for so long. But that's an iconic building at that corner.
It is, yeah.
I wonder what...
it's kind of sad when I drive by Fairview and see the bay there all boarded up.
Yeah.
Like they haven't done anything with that. I don't know if they plan on doing anything with it. Surely they must have something in mind.
I hope they don't take that building down and replace it with condos.
I was going to say, that's the way of the world these days.
Yeah. Anyway, there's your just a couple of stories.
There's your local update.
I wanted to get off my chest because I thought they were dandies, and I also wanted to tell you the story about Ted coming to my rescue. You didn't have anything to do yesterday. You said,
Not a thing, no.
How long were you at the dealership? Because I left before you did.
Oh, did you? Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, I was not long after you. Well, I had a big long chat with Lisa because Lisa's kids used to go to Garden View and Lauren Hill in Saint Laurent, where my eldest Lauren attended school, and so I used to hang out with Lisa and the other yummy mummies waiting for the kids to come out after school. Right. That was a highlight of my day. Hello, ladies.
It gets creepier as we get older, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And you managed to find yourself a free coffee, so
I did. Yeah.
Is this free? I heard Ted nearly hovering around the coffee station. Is this free coffee?
I would have paid if.
Of course. I'm just bugging you.
If there was a charge, but I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. What?
I'm drinking out of a Tim's cup.
Oh no! You're
the
in trouble now.
Executive producer is not going to.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm getting older and weaker or if the rims are getting harder to roll up because I'm really struggling with them sometimes. Like it feels like I'm going to break a fingernail trying to roll up the rim. They seem to be sealing them tighter than ever.
They announced that that's going to stay. They're not going back to the digital thing. I think the digital thing was a bit of a bomb.
I didn't even realize there was a digital thing.
For a couple of years,
instead of rolling up the rim, you'd scan it.
Yeah, some kind of nonsense. You had to download the app, whatever. But I think people like this old tradition of struggling with the rim and taking 5 minutes to see if you can get it undone so you can read.
Well, it's been worth it for me of late. I've had a decent little run. I got a free coffee and a free donut within the last couple of weeks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'd like to win that electric VW van, though. Apparently those are like $100,000.
Yeah.
I don't think the hippie vans back in the 60s were $100K.
No. But, if you look, I've been looking at cars because of the lemon I have.
Right.
And it's not uncommon anymore.
No.
Not uncommon.
Well, even entry-level compact sedans now are like $35,000, I think. Like a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic. Yeah. I think they start at $30,000, $35,000.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but I'm guessing.
Yeah. Even the tiny the little what do I call them, they're like tiny tiny bubble cars, the compact.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And
the cars for people who don't like to drive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even those are
tiny little
expensive.
electric cars. Yeah.
And I noticed today when I went to the bank machine to pick up some old-fashioned cash, the banks or at least my bank, has stopped giving out $5 bills.
Have they?
Yeah. So I guess they figure, inflation is run away, and now it's 50,
at the machine or also the tellers?
At the machine. Okay. So you used to ask you if you wanted, if you're taking out $200. You want 100, a 50, a 20, a 10, or a 5, and now it's the 5s are gone.
Well, the options that
I
get, the options I get at the bank machines I go to, everything is in multiples of 20.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh. Now you can also, enter. I'll try that next time.
Yeah.
If I ever have money again, I'll ask for 50 and see what they give me. I usually just choose from the menu. Do you want 20, 40, 60, 80, 100?
Do you have you ever walked away? I walked away for the first time a few months ago. I was in a hurry, and I went to a bank machine that wasn't mine, and got to the end of the transaction, and they said The charge for this will be $5.50. Would you like to continue? And I pushed no.
Yeah.
And I left.
I think I have done that. Yeah.
$5.50.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason
Come on,
I
yes.
will
Come
only
on.
I will only go to my bank.
Yeah.
Or a branch of my
Yeah.
bank.
I used to have I had a roommate who would drive around looking for his bank, and it used to drive me crazy because it was back in the days when it was just $1.
Yeah. Oh, $1,
Yeah.
$1.50, $2. That's that's one thing. But yeah, $5.50. Come on.
What am I, a millionaire? We don't want to keep our guest waiting, but we do want to tell you about Sugar Sammy. I've been watching some of the Sugar Sammy clips that he has been posting from his American tour, and they are terrific. The crowd work that he's becoming famous for just gets better and better. And crowds in Florida and Texas and California and Washington State, he's making the rounds, Ted.
Somebody sent us a note in the past week, I believe, saying that they went to one of his shows somewhere in the States, I think.
Yeah.
And they said it was like 60% crowd work.
Yeah.
And that it was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think when he senses the crowd is really, really good, he figures
He'll go in that
let's
direction.
go.
Yeah. He's in the middle of a 22-city U.S. tour in California right now, a run of shows in San Francisco, Sacramento, San Diego, Los Angeles. Then he starts to make his way back east. He'll be back in Montreal in the fall. And I know that seems like a long way away, but we're already moving into spring. Summer lasts 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it's fall.
Yeah, quick, put the Christmas decorations out.
So go to sugarsammy.com and have a look at his schedule. I say schedule because that's how I learned it in shul. And find some shows near you and buy some tickets and hop to it because they sell out,
Yep.
Just about everywhere you go, Sugar Sammy sells out. So if you want to go to a show here in Montreal, make sure you buy your tickets sooner rather than later. There you go. Mano's brought up the schedule.
Yes,
and he's back. He's back in town on Thursday, September 3rd. Oh, look at that though. He's got some shows in Ottawa.
Yep.
In June.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Friday, June 19th through Saturday, June 20th. All 2 nights.
Yep.
2 shows per night. Some shows in Ottawa in French and English. The You're Gonna Rear style format that Sammy's so good at.
Yeah. If you've never seen him, go to his website. It's a fun website to navigate, easy to navigate. Lots of great clips up there. And where the shows are listed, it tells you if tickets are going quickly. Like there's already a low ticket alert for the Ottawa show. So sugarsammy.com is where you want to go.
Shall I go get our guest?
Hang on.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Am I right? It's almost like they've welded the cup.
Christ.
I know.
What are you
Terry's
doing?
trying to roll up the rim.
Okay. I see please play.
Yeah.
So that means...
Yeah, the next word is again.
Yeah. So that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Yes, we have quite a Montreal story we want to tell you about. And we're going to play a little... we're going to get our guest music here. Don't go away. We're back, and we should introduce our guest. You introduce our guest because we've known our guest for a very long time.
Scott Phelan is a longtime friend, a past president of the St. Patrick's Society of Montreal, and now a board member and treasurer of the Montreal Irish Monument Park Foundation, of which I was unaware until I ran into Scott. Was it last fall, Scott?
Yeah, at a barrel event.
Yeah, at Shar Hashemayim in Westmount, and Scott was telling me about the Irish Monument Park Foundation, and I thought to myself, well, this is an English Montreal moment. A Catholic and a Protestant talking about an Irish thing at a synagogue in Westmount.
At a Jewish gathering.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
We should also say we've known Scott for a very, very long time. Scott used to be a client of ours when he was running
La Boutique Électronique.
Yeah, but before that, it was Auto Audio.
Auto Audio,
That's how
that's
long
right.
we've known
Yeah.
you. How many years ago was that?
Auto Audio, we sold it in 88, so we've been doing stuff back in the early 80s.
Yeah, I think you put a stereo in my car, and the next thing I knew, I was doing your commercials, and then you bought that lovely building on Sources Road and opened La Boutique Électronique.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then you came back and we're doing, I was remembering actually an event we did there. You might not remember the Ultimate Coach Potato Contest.
I do.
You do?
I do remember
where we
that.
had 60 people and they all had tapes and there was one winning tape and everybody, the anticipation built up and the first guy comes up and poof, he pops it in and he's the winner.
Yeah.
It was the worst.
Cut this over. Thanks for coming,
Bye, everybody.
Yeah. What year did you walk away from that, Scott? I don't
From
remember.
Auto Audio, 88,
And then La Boutique-
2014 from La
2014.
Boutique, yeah.
Doesn't seem like that long ago, but that
Yeah,
was
it's,
12 years ago.
We had a lot of fun. Chris
Yeah.
Porches, my ex-partner, and I, we had a lot of
Yeah,
laughs
sure
over
did.
the years. You know, toys for grown-ups and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So
it was great.
And yeah, we just decided we were getting on and we weren't having as much fun and business had changed.
And it's-
everything was going online.
Yeah,
And,
retirement time.
yeah, exactly.
And so you've chosen this project to keep you busy?
It kind of chose me,
Okay.
actually, Terry. It's
And it's not just a staying busy thing; it's an important thing.
It's
for the
it's
Irish
a
community in
legacy
Montreal.
project.
Yeah.
The Irish community has been trying for 170 years to have that site properly commemorated and treated properly.
Where is the site?
It's right at the northern entrance to the Victoria Bridge.
So Griffintown-ish?
Yeah, you know where the Costco is. It's
I do.
just south of
Yeah.
the Costco.
Okay.
And it's right in the middle of a 4-lane highway.
Okay.
That was put there in 1966 in preparation for the building of the autostat.
Okay.
And the Irish community had no say in the matter other than we fought like hell and we got to keep the Black Rock there.
Okay.
Now, the Black Rock is, a lot of people don't know what it is. A lot of people pass it every day. They don't even know it's there. But it's really a grave marker. The Black Rock marks a site where 6,000 Irish citizens, refugees from the Great Irish Famine, are buried underneath it and beneath some of the CN land and beneath some of the highway that's on either side. So,
And this
really
goes back to the mid 1800s.
yeah. Well, I'll go back and give a brief history of it. The Great Irish Famine, they don't call it the potato famine or the in Ireland. They call it the Agordamore, which means the Great Hunger, because it was an imposed famine. There was, let's be real, it wasn't, you can't blame the lowly potato. It was largely at fault, but frankly, there was lots of food and it was all exported. It was basically a genocide. It was an effort to cull the herd by the British colonial government, if you like. And so let's call a spade a spade. It's never been apologized for. It's never been compensated. The Irish people never been compensated for it. So in the period between 1845 and 1851, over 1 million people died in Ireland of the famine, and over 1 million people left. I mean, the population in 1845 was 8.5 million people, and today it's only 6.5. It never recovered, never recovered. And of those 1 million people that left, during the summer of 1847, which was the height of the famine, it was one of the worst years, and 100,000 people left various ports in Ireland for Lower Canada at the time. And they ended up in between May and November of that year, 75,000, well, between 70 and 75,000 Irish refugees showing up on the shores of Montreal. Some ended up going to Grosse Ile, where there's 5,000 Irish people buried, which is a quarantine station in the middle of the St. Lawrence River. And then if you got better, then you were shipped down to Montreal on open barges. The population of Montreal at that time was 50,000 people. So you can imagine 75,000 people showing up in a 6-month period, the pressure that it put on the population at the time. And to their eternal credit, they came to the aid of these refugees. I mean, they were malnourished. They were just had the clothes on their back for the most part. They were unilingual, speaking Gaelic only. And worst of all, they were were sick. They carried
With typhus.
Typhus, yeah. They called it ship's fever. And so during that summer, 6,000 people died and were buried. Actually, it could have been way worse because the mayor at the time, John Easton Mills, who was an American guy, he had fever sheds built on the land, about 22 of these big fever sheds, to accommodate the sick that were coming ashore. Because not everybody was sick, but a lot of people were.
Yeah.
So it could have been way worse. There was a certain amount of acceptance that of caring for these poor refugees. They were, really in bad shape. And so it could have been way worse. But 6,000 people dying in 6 months, if you think about it, that's like 50 to 100 people every day.
Yeah.
They ran out of wood and people willing to make the coffins by August. And they started to trench the poor souls who passed away out of the sheds until it sort of subsided in November. So it's the largest mass grave of Irish citizens outside of Ireland. It's the largest mass grave in Canada. And that 6 months where everybody kind of came together and donated food and donated clothing and gave jobs and adopted over 1,000 orphans and so on, represents the largest humanitarian effort in Canadian history, and nobody knows the damn story.
And this is now paved over by a highway.
By a 4-lane highway, Bridge Street.
Right. And it's marked that the only marker is the marker that most people don't recognize.
The Black Stone.
Yeah, the Black Rock. When the Victoria Bridge was being built, most of the workers were Irish.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. And they uncovered remains, and the whole thing kind of resurfaced. Well, why isn't this sacred ground, this cemetery,
building,
why isn't it protected?
Yeah.
But of course, Irish were not exactly the top rung of citizenry in Quebec or Lower Canada or in the States or across the world, for that matter.
But the Irish had such an impact on the community in Montreal. I mean,
incredible, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the flag.
It's on the flag.
Yeah.
We've had, one of our founders of Confederation is Irish. We've had many Irish mayors and chiefs of police and politicians.
Without the Irish, the city doesn't thrive.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, and it shows in the character of the city. I mean, everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. But frankly, half the population
is already Irish.
Irish.
Yeah. And one of the things Ted and I often talk about it on the podcast, one of the hallmarks of Quebec families is there was a whole sort of era where French Canadians were marrying Irish and Irish were marrying French Canadians.
Oh, yeah.
So Ted likes to point out that sometimes
you'll find a guy, for example, Steve Flanagan used to be the Hydro-Quebec spokesman.
Yeah.
And if there was a power outage pre-internet, before you could just go on your app and see when your power would come back, in the newsroom, we'd have to call Steve Flanagan, get him on the radio to talk about the power outage. And Steve Flanagan, you think, not this Steve Flanagan.
Yeah.
You call him and he say, the power, she not gonna pass for 2 hours, maybe 3, I don't know. Yeah. And we told that story and somebody sent us a note and said, there are 2 mics at work.
Yeah.
Flanagan doesn't speak English and LeBlanc doesn't speak French.
Quebec, c'est fair.
Yeah, it's all part of the history.
Yeah. Even my wife's family, they landed in Quebec around the same time.
Yeah.
Kelly, and when her dad passed away, he's buried in Quebec City. Mm-hmm. That's where he's from originally, and we met cousins, Guillaume Kelly from Lac Saint Jean. Didn't speak a word. Not a word of English rather, and very nice, and the 40% of the Quebec citizens have Irish heritage.
So how did you come to this, Scotty? How did you decide that we got to do something about this?
It was actually while I was president. I was vice president for a while, and then president of St. Patrick's Society, which was a great honor. It's a super organization, and it's been around. It's actually pretty well the oldest in Quebec. It was founded in 1834. And while I was doing that, I ran into these guys who were promoting the fact that this land needs to be properly commemorated. And
preserved.
Yeah. At the very least, preserve the cemetery,
Right.
and mark it and respect it and give it its due, because it's been denigrated since 1859, when after the rock was put there, the land was sold to the Grand Trunk Railroad, and they used it to dump all their refuse on, which is now CN Rail, for years and years and years. And actually, in 1898, they picked up the Black Rock in the middle of the night and they moved it in front of St. Anne's Parish. And it took the Irish community 11 years in court to get it put back on where it was. But they faced it the wrong way, but nobody's perfect.
Okay.
So,
Jesus
and
Christ.
the Black Rock is the oldest monument to the Irish famine in the world. So it's quite an iconic symbol. I mean, on the one side, you've got this terrible, horrible tragedy of the famine and 6,000 people dying who finally made it to safety before they even became citizens. But on the other side, you've got this incredible humanitarian side, which is the spirit of Quebecers. It's who we are, not just who we were, but we seem to forget that sometimes. The politics gets in the way of who we really are at the core.
Yeah.
And individuals want to be helping their neighbors, and they want to make sure that the stranger on their shore is treated well.
So what's the project? What's the ultimate goal?
So when I joined with these guys in 2016, 2017, around there, it was very small, kind of a group, and we spent a lot of time, promoting it within the community, getting letters of support from everybody and all that. But then Hydro-Quebec turned around and bought all the land that the Montreal Irish Monument, Black Rock Montreal Irish Monument Park Foundation. We since changed the name last year, and we're now the Montreal Irish Monument.
Okay.
That's it. That's all, because we want to be easily identified outside of our Montreal as well as inside of Montreal. So when Hydro-Quebec, we were trying to buy the land around where the Black Rock was so we could do something with it. And it's an industrial wasteland right there, right now, right? I mean, there's nothing there. It was a parking lot for the casino. So right out from under us, Hydro-Quebec bought all the land, all 10.5 acres. But they called us up and they said, listen, we're very sensitive to the importance of that site, not just to your community, but to the city, the history of this city as well. So they've partnered with us since 2017. They've invested millions of dollars, and they've donated 3.6 acres of land to our foundation.
That's not
for
where I thought this was going.
No, me either.
No. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was, and they convinced the city of Montreal to partner with us as well.
Wow.
So we formed in 2018, we formed a tripartite relationship, and we're all kind of equal partners. Actually, they put up most of the money, and we do all the work. Yeah. So
that's fair.
That's okay.
fair. Yeah.
Did you say $1?
$1.
You get the land for $1.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was Claudine Bouchard, who's now the CEO of Hydro-Quebec, who officiated at that ceremony in October of 2024. And I actually gave her a loonie. They said, okay, we're all paid up. And the ambassador, the new ambassador, John Kincannon from Ireland to Canada, it was his first official task as the new ambassador. And he has taken this to another level, which we have met. He got us to meet with the Minister of Culture from Ireland back in January, and the Minister of Culture, Mark Miller, who's the Black Rock's in his riding, was there also. And we made a big pitch, and they both pledged their support, both to the ongoing costs and to the cost for building it, because it's going to cost us. Well, the City of Montreal next year is moving Bridge Street off of the cemetery finally, which is costing them somewhere between $20 and $25 million.
When you say moving the street, they're going to go around?
They're going to go to the west.
Okay.
It's going to still be partially on the cemetery, but there's no other way. You've got a major bridge there and lots of infrastructure. Yeah. But originally, and I brought you some pictures that we never had to look at. Originally, the street went right through the middle of the park. They moved it not to the west, they moved it to the north and east. Okay. So it was closer to the new Hydro-Quebec substation, which is there, which, by the way, they call the Station des Irlandais in commemoration. They've been an unbelievably amazing partner. We never would have gotten this far. As a matter of fact, Mary-Claude Durin, one of the senior people from communications and community relations at Hydro, sits on our board of directors since 2022.
This is a big turnaround from 1966, where people just go, no, pave that, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's what do you attribute that to? Is it just more sensitivity?
Awareness.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the city, once they realized the story and what had happened in '66, they really got on board with the meaning of it all and the importance of it all. Because for us, we look at the Black Rock as being one of the most iconic symbols of Montreal, even more so than the Big O or maybe the Cross on Mont Royal, because it speaks not only of who we are, or who we were rather, but it tells a really important part of our history. When people came together to help people who desperately needed that aid. So these poor refugees we did the same thing with the Syrians in 2008 or whatever it was. We accepted more in terms of actual numbers than did the United States. Yeah. So it's who we are as a people. And I think if you've traveled this great land, we're empty. We got lots of room.
There's lots of room.
There's lots of room. Yeah. So immigration is one of those things that we can talk about. So it's very symbolic of the character of Montrealers, of the character of Québécois, and the character of Canadians. Yeah. And that's why we feel it's so important to commemorate the space. So we're building a park, yes. We're also, if you looked at some of the pictures, we're building a museum and a visitor center, an interpretive center, if you will, so that people can understand the before and after of this event and can understand the history and the contributions that the Irish have made to this city, to this province, to this country. So it's really an honor to be sort of there. I stumbled into it, and I'm now the vice president, and somebody else is doing the treasurer, who knows what he's doing.
Is that right? Okay. Now I'm up to date. Sorry about that. Okay. I took that off the stuff that you sent me. Yeah. But you did say that's a couple of years old. Yeah.
There was a point, I think, when politics kind of, like from 1974, 75, 76, a lot of English history was kind of pushed aside for a little while. And those days seem to have gone, because when you started to tell me the Hydro-Quebec story, I thought, I know where this is going. And that's not where it's going at all. It seems to me that finally the contribution of the Irish community, and AKA the English community, is being recognized.
And embraced.
Yeah. I mean, this never would have gotten this far. We never would have convinced the city to move Bridge Street if Hydro-Quebec had not been by our side. Yeah. And to be fair, one of our biggest supporters in terms of financial, because we have a lot of costs, legal and otherwise, has been the Quebec government through the Secretariat aux Relations Québécois avec d'expression anglais. Wow. They've been terrific. John McMahon and his team, Lisa Short there, have been very supportive. Christopher Skeet, when I finally got a hold of him back in like 2022 or something like that, I finally got a 15-minute phone call that turned into an hour. But then a week later, we had a 2-hour meeting, and then he put us into the arms of the Secretariat, and they've been helping by funding us our cost of operations for the last 4 years.
Christopher Skeet is kind of the English community liaison from the CAQ government. He's an M&A for the CAQ. Yeah.
And a nice guy. I mean,
really nice guy. Yeah.
And everybody we've come to. I mean, we have patrons on the project. Jean Charest is one of our patrons. Tom O'Carroll is one of our patrons. The Irish ambassador, John Kincannon, Mary Gallery, and a couple of others. We have an incredible advisory team. Robbie Braid, actually, is our chair of communications committee. And we have guys like on our steering committee now, Jeff Kelly, Brian O'Gallagher, who's the honorary, he's a lawyer from Quebec City, who's the honorary Irish counsel for Quebec. And James Hughes, I don't know if you know James.
I do, yeah.
From the Old Brewery Mission.
Hughes is a great guy. and been very supportive. One of those guys who called us up, and I saw you guys on the news, or I read this article, and how can I help?
Yeah.
You know, and there's been a lot of that. So
Speaking of that, is there somewhere where, if somebody's listening to this, is there somewhere where somebody can go and look at what you've done, or
absolutely,
where the plans are? Is it online?
We have a site called Montreal Irish Monument, just like our name.
Yeah.
MontrealIrishMonument.com. And we have a lot of the designs up there. We have a lot of the, when in 2019, there's another side thing. I don't know how much time we got, but.
It's a podcast.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
So back in 2019, when the REM was being put in,
Yes.
they came to us and they said, listen, we have to put a post in.
Yeah.
And we think it's in the corner of the cemetery. Now, it's on CN land, but we want the blessing of the Irish community because we just don't want to go in there and be disrespectful.
Yeah.
And we said, well, okay, well, it's very nice of you to do that. But so we organized in the summer of 2019 a blessing. They put up a big Celtic banner over where they were going to be digging, and they brought some earth over, and we had a Catholic priest, a Protestant priest, a rabbi, and a shaman, and a First Nation shaman, all give blessings and speeches. And then they went ahead and they did this dig. They specially created a cage that was 10 feet in diameter that went down, because you know how it works, eh? They put this cylinder down and they hammer it down until you hit bedrock.
Sure do.
And they suck out everything else, and then they fill it with concrete, and there's your pylon. So they went down as far as they thought was about 1890, and then they had 3 teams of archaeologists who dug by hand all the way down.
Wow.
And indeed, in a 10-foot circle, they found the remains of 14 individuals.
Wow.
And those are actually now sort of our what do you call that? The unknown soldiers of our project.
Yeah.
Ethoscope on the South Shore did all the preliminary analysis. We know their ages, their sexes, what they died of, how long it was between when they died and when they were buried, and all that. And now the DNA was in Three Rivers for a while, but they weren't capable because it's ancient DNA, right? So it went to Lakehead University, Ontario, where they have the best lab for that kind of thing in the country. And they came back, and indeed we have enough DNA to now move forward. The Irish government has offered their services on identifying
The families?
the families if they
Wow.
can, and where they
Wow.
came from precisely. And 2 of the 14 people were related. I'm not sure which 2, but and that's on the website. So we're going to, when we finish the site, we're going to start building in 2029.
Yeah.
And we should finish by 2030. And that's what you're looking at, that picture
Yeah.
online. That's the old
if
one. That's the one where the road goes right through the project.
If you're watching on YouTube, Amanda has put it up on the screen. The website is, what's the website again, Scotty?
MontrealIrishMonument.com.
And that's what you're looking at. And this picture I'm looking at right now is the old one? Is that
That's
what
the
you
old
said?
design.
Yeah. Okay.
The new design, you can see there,
Yeah.
the road goes to the west.
Yes.
And not through
Around
the heart
it.
of the park.
Right,
And it really
gotcha.
changes.
Yeah.
It makes it a safer space. It makes it that the traffic doesn't need
Yeah.
to be calmed, or there's no lights and no crosswalks and everything. It's a much safer design.
I have to tell you, I'm really what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not enlightened, but it makes me feel good to hear these stories about the government,
Everybody getting on board.
yeah, Hydro Quebec. Because of my age and the era that I was raised in, these were all organizations you thought never gave a shit about anything.
Yeah.
And this is really an impressive story of government at all levels and Hydro Quebec and the REM. That's an incredible story.
We were doing this thing because we're trying to identify for the Irish government and the federal government how much has been spent
Yeah.
to date.
Yeah.
Like, how much is this project worth? And the REM contribution alone was $500,000.
Wow.
The special dig, the equipment they made, hiring the archaeologists, doing the analysis afterwards. And we've picked up after that. We've taken on the DNA analysis costs and all that stuff. But it really is remarkable how many people are getting on board. And if we look at it like to build this park, we have to raise $25 million. That's a lot of scratch.
That's a lot of scratch. Yeah,
And,
you're right.
But you know what? With the federal government and the Irish government and the municipal government and the provincial government rather coming on board, it should be. We know that privately, like through foundations and corporations and individuals, we have to raise between 8 and 10. The rest will come from different levels of government. But on top of that, we're raising another $8 million. So, and that is to permanently endow the site, because once it's built, who takes care of it? We're giving it to the city.
Yeah,
it's basically public space.
Right.
Okay, but it has to be maintained. We don't want that land ever to be out of the hands of the Irish community ever again.
Right.
So it's going to be our foundation that's managing it, that's taking care of the museum and the visitor center. There's spaces there where community groups, whether it's the UIS or St. Pat's or any of the 22 Irish community groups in Montreal, they can use that space to meet. And the outside space, we're making it so that you can have like events outside there. You can have like a concert, always with respect and always with the site, keeping in mind that it's sacred ground, but something that we can be proud of, not just our community, but the city as a whole. The city actually looks at this, and the mayor, the old mayor, and I had a long conversation about that, that they look at this as a gateway now to the city, something that when you come in on the REM, you come in on the Bonaventure, or you go across the Victoria Bridge, or you, in the future, you access the new linear park that's going to be built that runs between Champlain Bridge and Victoria Bridge. It's all going to be going through that land, that commemorative site. So it has tremendous value for the city in terms of history, education, and frankly, tourism.
Yeah.
We're hoping that the day will come when people say, well, yeah, we're going to go up to Montreal and we're going to go to see the Big O and up to the mountain from the Belvedere and Old Montreal and the Irish Cemetery, because we hear it's very interesting and evocative. So
can people go to that site if they want to help?
Sure.
Is that a good place to contact you?
Sure. They can contact us. Our number is there. Our emails are there. And any donations are gratefully accepted. We're in the silent phase of our fundraising at this point. We've hired a tremendous company, Quebecois company with offices across the country called B&P Inspire. And that was actually James Hughes who brought us to these guys because, what do I know about raising $25 million, right? It was hard enough. It took us 2 years to raise just shy of $2 million to get things rolling. And that was with participation of like the Irish government donated, the Secretariat donated, through the province did. But so far, so that's our goal, to raise this $35 million. But the value of the project so far is close to $78,000, because if you consider the $20 to $25 million that the city's got to spend on Bridge Street, that the land is valuated at somewhere between $8 and $10 million from Hydro. Hydro spent, they decontaminated the land for us. We thought we were going to have to bear that cost. That was almost $2 million. Right. So they've spent almost $6 million on this project on top of the land, and then with the city and so on, and then, the REM, and it's been a remarkable journey. Yeah. And we're blessed to work. We have a fantastic president, Fergus Keys, who I hope someday you get to meet in the near future. He's a wonderful guy. The history of Montreal and the history of Griffintown and the Point St. Charles is his métier. And he, along with a couple of other people, almost single-handedly have brought this forward to the point where then others like myself joined and have been inspired by the whole thing to the point where we're dedicating our bloody lives to it these days.
The more you get,
it's okay.
Yeah, the more you get the word out,
honor.
The more you get the word out, the more people are going to recognize what's going on. Give the website one more time, Scott.
MontrealIrishMonument.com. We're in the parade on the 22nd, and This is the Irish season, so the
It sure is.
The luncheon is the St. Patrick's Society 192nd charity luncheon is this coming Friday. And then
We've been at 188 of them. Or so it seems.
Just feels like
it's a great time.
Yeah.
The UIS is always the Irishman of the Year breakfast was last Saturday. That's the Aaron Sports Association.
Yeah, it's
Danny Doyle and his team.
one of the things we joke about the Irish. They when we were working on the radio, the parade would be somewhere around the 17th of March, and they would start calling us for the following
December.
In June. Are you coming to the lunch? Yes,
You're gonna be there,
coming
eh?
to the lunch. Scotty, thank you for this.
Oh no, thank you.
Tip of the cap to you. The more you
Ted,
get the
Terry,
word out.
thank you so much. It's great to see you guys. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a long time. This is quite a project. I'm glad that we can help you get the word out a little bit.
Well, thank you very much for it, and keep tabs. I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
We'll invite you guys to the opening.
Okay. We're going to take a break, and when we, after the really bad music, we'll be right back. We're back with our thanks to Scott Phelan, who clearly is very passionate about a project you may not have heard of.
Isn't that a fascinating story,
It's
though?
a fascinating story.
It made
really
me
is.
verklempt
Yeah,
as a Montrealer.
Yeah, it really is, and it's as you point out, a real Montreal story that a lot of people, don't know.
Yeah, it's a part of the city's, an important part of the city's history.
Yeah, that's a I don't know if it's a fun project, but it's a passion project for sure
is,
for
yeah.
Scott Phelan and a lot of other people in and out of the Irish community. That was one of the things that surprised me so much when he started talking about Hydro-Quebec. I thought, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And then it was all a story of cooperation and respect and
Yeah.
really
at
quite
multiple
something.
levels of government.
Yes. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm very excited because yesterday I saw a little bit of my deck. That was very exciting. It's a sign of spring up in the Laurentians when the snow, the 99 feet of snow starts to melt and you see a little tiny bit of your deck in the backyard. That's a sign that you need to make your appointment at Merson. It's important. You made your appointment, did you?
I'm in on April 8th. I'm in on my mom's birthday. That way I won't forget. When I call mom to wish her happy birthday, I'll go, cripes, mom, I got to go. I got to go down to Merson. Going to get my winter tires off, my summer tires on. They'll store my winters. They'll change my oil. They'll give my car the once over and let me know that I'm good to go for the warm weather season. Yeah. And the sooner you make your appointment at the Mersons, the better. They're already starting to get people calling to book their tire change. So call them now.
Yeah.
Why don't you?
It's when you start to feel that warmth of the sun gets a little warmer, the clocks change. I mean, I know we're supposed to have unbelievably shit weather tomorrow, but that's the way of March.
Yeah, we're recording on Tuesday, March the 10th. Yeah. There's a big ice storm incoming. So tomorrow might not be the best day to go see the Mersons, but tomorrow will be a good day to sit at home and call them and make your appointment.
487-5545. Val will answer the phone and give you an appointment. And like we said, don't wait, because a lot of people wait till the last minute and they call. And when they say they can see you next week, people get all upset. Can't wait till the last minute.
No.
Come on. You're a Quebecer. You know better.
Yeah. Merson.ca, or as Terry says, mersonauto.com. mersonauto.com or 514-487-5545. Now, if you can see your deck, that also means that Tom from Accutech will be coming soon.
Yeah, yeah. Our good friends at Accutech, they're an electrical company that have been in business since 1995, and have they've introduced me to the Bentley of generators. And generators are not something you think about if you live in Westmount or Dollard. But if you live in the Laurentians, it's something you have to give some consideration to. So we've been trying to make an appointment with Tom to come up and look at the house and decide where the Generac is going to go. But it just would not stop snowing. So when I saw a little bit of the deck exposed the other day, I thought this is, as a matter of fact, I just this morning sent a note to Trish saying I'm going to call Tom this week and we're going to get him up so that he can scan the premises and decide where the generator should go. And also while he's there, I'm going to have him look at our fuse box and the way things are installed in the house. Because as we talk about every week on the podcast, electricity is something you take for granted, and electrical problems is not something you want to have. And when you have them, you panic. And what you've got to do is keep Accutech in mind, Acutech. Like I said, they've been doing it since 1995, and they can handle anything, whether you've got an older house that needs electrical system updates, you need to replace your fuse box, you've bought a strip mall and you want to redo the wiring, or you're a contractor that's going to build 5 houses and you're looking for an electrical partner. Accutech is who you want to call. Acutech.ca.
Want to do the tweet sheet?
I sure do.
By the way, last week's tweet sheet, the one that I couldn't get through from Sunshine Jarboli, the caveman memo, that's actually a thread. That was only the first tweet from a thread.
Oh, wow.
The memo goes on and on. If you want to go to, if you enjoyed that and you want to go to Sunshine Jarboli on
We got
X.
a nice note from him.
Yeah, we did.
On Twitter.
Yeah, well, he appreciated that we gave him a shout out. Now, that was a very funny tweet. Let's see what we got this week.
All right.
We'll start with this one from @ParkerCity9. Netflix had enough cash to buy Warner Brothers, but cried poor when we shared passwords with our mom. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah,
eh?
I was going to say not hilarious, but actually accurate.
Yeah. Well, that's business.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
From @SoFarSoGud, museum guide. So we keep all our best paintings here in this room. Me, way too loud. Hall of Frame guide taking out taser. Look away, everybody. And from @Grandpa Harris 65. Just got back from a gender reveal party. It's not what I thought. Everyone else was wearing pants.
Oh, that's a great comic mind right there.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good visual.
Play. Yeah, well, I don't know about a great visual.
It's a visual.
It's a visual. It's a visual. Okay. I thought maybe as I do every week, I would talk about some of the stuff we've been watching. Pardon me. And I'm taking a sip from my standing by coffee cup, and it's in the works.
It is in the works. Any month now.
Yeah, I actually have stopped the presses, or I've gummed up the works, because I was supposed to pick a coffee mug, but we had some events this week that drove me off the road.
Yeah. It's But trust us, we're moving forward.
Yes, we are.
Ever slowly.
Yeah.
We're going to. There's a guy who I work with on a military. What do you call them? An NGO, a charitable sort of foundation thing, and he says a thing that applies here that I can't remember now. Yeah. He says he would rather walk to success than run to failure.
Yes. Oh,
so that's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're walking to success.
Yeah. Or it's you two men go that way, and the rest of you come with me, or something. Okay, I thought I would mention a couple of things that caught our... I forgot last week to mention Man on the Run. Man on the Run is a documentary on Paul McCartney and Wings.
That came up on my, I don't know if it was Crave or Prime the other day, and I thought, has Terry mentioned that? Should I watch that?
Yeah.
Should I watch that?
We watched it the day it came out, of course, because I live with the biggest Paul McCartney fan. I'm married to the biggest Paul McCartney fan in the world. And the day it came out, we watched it. And we loved it. We absolutely loved it. We're a little biased because I'm a massive fan of the Beatles and everything Paul McCartney has done. And it was an interesting take on the Wings era. So from the moment that Paul leaves the Beatles, marries Linda, moves to Scotland, throughout the Wings story, I thought it was terrific. It's I read the book on holidays. The Wings documentary is kind of, if you read the Wings book, you won't be surprised by anything in the film and vice versa. If you watch the film and read the book, it's just the story of that era of Paul's life, and it's absolutely terrific. And it's a movie by Morgan Neville, who's a very, very famous documentary filmmaker. And if you love music and you love that era, who did not have a copy of Band on the Run?
I loved that era of McCartney's career.
Yeah,
it wasn't
so did I.
It wasn't the Beatles, but it's not that it wasn't Beatles light either.
No.
It was its own thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't lesser than the Beatles. It was just different than the Beatles.
Yeah.
Wings did some great songs.
Did they ever? They had some great records and they did some great tours. And I was watching it and I thought to myself, Wings Over America was a big, famous, one of the first big tours in big places in 1976. And it came to Toronto. And I did the math and I thought, what was I doing in 76? Like, why didn't I go? What's wrong with me? I guess I wasn't paying attention.
Well, you weren't in Toronto, for one thing.
No, I
Are you
wasn't
saying,
in
why
Toronto.
didn't I get in the car or
Yeah.
jump on the train?
Yeah, because I was at that age where you jumped in the car
That's
and drove,
true. Yeah. Or hitchhiked.
Yeah, driving
Yeah.
27 hours wasn't a big deal
No.
when you were 17. Anyway, highly recommend it. It's called Man on the Run. I forgot to mention it last week. You should put that on your list.
There you go. I see it's on Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll watch that.
Here's two things that I wouldn't put on your list. On Saturday, Jess said, why don't we watch movies we've been talking about watching and we never got around to? So we watched Sentimental Value, which is all the talk and rage of Oscar season. Mm-hmm. And it's just shit. It's like a Swedish, Norwegish, like it looked like, you know, the kind of parodies that they used to do about Swedish movies?
Right.
It's like that.
It's a parody of itself.
Yeah. Stellan Skarsgård has been nominated for an Oscar for his performance. He called it a role of a lifetime. Moi, je comprends pas.
No, eh?
Yeah, Jess and I said, what are we missing? And it was like the year that, do you remember the movie Everything Always, Everywhere, Outside, Upside Down? What was it called? Everything.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Everything all at once.
All at once.
Yeah.
So the year that got nominated, Jess and I watched that. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Jess and I watched that movie because it was, everybody was raving about the genius of it, and we watched it and we went, what is this garbage? I mean, it's subjective.
Yeah.
But I said to Jess, in 10 years, nobody will be talking about Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And I don't think anybody's going to be talking about Sentimental Value.
No, it's trendy critics-driven stuff.
That's what we said.
Yeah.
It's everybody saying, oh, the movie cinematography. Anyway, so I recommend you steer away from that. And this caught me by surprise because Francis Ford Coppola is a legendary filmmaker. And for years, I've been reading about Gene Hackman in The Conversation. Never seen the movie. So Jess said, why don't we finally watch it? Movie came out in 1974.
Okay.
But it's one of those movies that's always on a list. And when people talk about Gene Hackman, they talk about how brilliant he was in this movie. And Francis Ford Coppola, and it was overlooked that year because it was the year The Godfather 2 came out. We were like, what? It was, the only fun part of it was shot in San Francisco in 1974. So it was a bit of a time machine for me. But I just thought it was awful.
What was the plot?
The Conversation.
It's just a conversation?
Yeah, Gene Hackman plays a guy who snoops on people. And there's his tape recorders. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a picture.
Right.
And it's about the conversation he tapes and the people around the conversation. Just, I don't get it. I just didn't get it. And it's quite a popular movie. Everybody thinks Gene Hackman was brilliant in everything he
He's
said.
a great actor.
Yeah.
I liked Mississippi Burning. I think I've watched that twice, and I could probably watch it again because it's been at least 10 years.
You know what else? He was great in everything.
Yeah.
But He was great in the submarine movie with Denzel Washington.
With Denzel Washington. That was a fantastic movie.
He
I can't
was-
remember the name of it, but that was terrific.
Both him and Denzel in
Yeah.
that movie were like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about their performances. And you know what else he was good in was Enemy of the State with Slap You in the Face Man and Gene Hackman.
Clint Eastwood? Was he in that?
No,
What am I thinking of?
Enemy of the State with Will Smith and Gene Hackman and John Voight. Well, that's what he's known for
okay,
now.
I understand where you're
That
going
was such
now.
a good movie, and I thought an underrated movie. And Hackman is brilliant in that.
He was
just
a great
brilliant.
actor.
As was John Voight in that movie too. Anyway, there's a couple of old movie recommendations.
Well, those not recommendations.
Yeah.
He recommends that you steer clear of them.
Yeah, except if you want to go back and watch something.
Well, Enemy of the State, Mississippi Burning, but the conversation,
no.
Ixnay on the On Vacation say.
Yes, and what was the submarine movie called?
I don't remember. Something deep. Boy,
Yeah.
this is deep. Boy, it's deep. It's deep down here.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. Not Widowmaker because that was Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Mano's going to find it
Mano's
for us.
finding it.
Yeah.
Mano.
We have
Yeah,
Mano, Mano on the case.
Yeah, the thing with the guy in the boat with the stick, Crimson Tide.
There you go.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
great movie.
And if you're watching on YouTube, there's a picture of Gene Hackman yelling at Denzel Washington. It's just great. I'm going to quickly mention Drive to Survive. If you're an F1 fan, you're probably reading all of the controversy about F1 this year. The cars apparently are shite because the cars are somehow they're hybrid. I don't know what the technical thing is. Don't yell at me. Has something to do with a battery that can't keep up. And a lot of people are saying, that F1 has succumbed to the climate people. And
they've already ruined the exhaust note.
Yeah.
By going from the supercharged V8 to the turbocharged V6.
Yeah, and some of the drivers are complaining this year, and long-standing F1 drivers are complaining, saying the cars are complete shit. But Drive to Survive, that's on Netflix right now, is about last season, and I was watching it last night. I just love Drive to Survive, and Drive to Survive has been a big part of this explosion of F1 fandom around the world. And it's just really fun to watch. And I think, even if you're not a race car fan, the drama and the sort of soap opera-y-ness of it,
glamour.
And the glamour,
Yeah.
I think you'd like it.
Yeah. Have you seen the Formula One movie with Brad Pitt?
I'm going to see that this week. My
You are,
wife is away this week, and she doesn't want to watch it.
Why not?
She's not interested in the racing thing at all.
Yeah, but you know what? Quite often a movie you don't want to watch, like the Pope movie. Conclave.
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch that.
Yeah.
I thought, who cares about the bunch of guys sitting around the Vatican electing a pope?
Yeah.
And I watched it and really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I'm going to watch it, and I'll let her know if I think she
F1
should
the movie.
watch. Yeah.
Well, Brad Pitt's in it.
Yeah. So there you go.
What woman doesn't want to watch a movie? What's wrong with her?
So Drive to Survive is on Netflix, and F1 the movie is also, I think, it's on Apple TV, or it's one of the 9 million services. Shrinking, I mention it every week. I can't say enough good things about it, with Harrison Ford and just an unbelievable cast. Written by and put together by the same guy that put together Ted Lasso and Scrubs. Scrubs is back. Jess and I watched Scrubs. It was an ABC series that was on for, I think, 9 years. Hasn't been on for years. They got most of the original cast back, and it's available.
So it's a reboot, not reruns?
No, it's a reboot. It's a
Nice.
new episodes of the old series Scrubs. Guy named Bill Lawrence, who's behind Shrinking, behind Ted Lasso, was behind Spin City, if you remember that show with Michael J. Fox. He's put the Scrubs back, and it's terrific. And my last recommendation this week, the same guy, Bill Lawrence, has put together a show with Steve Carell. Yeah. Called Rooster. And we watched the first episode the other night, and it is fantastic. Steve Carell is the Steve Carell that you've come to love, the sort of goofy, very funny character that he plays in this is just fantastic. And it's on Crave, and I highly recommend it. It's called Rooster. Weird name. He plays the father of a daughter who's a teacher at this college. And I can't say enough good things about it. We absolutely loved it. It was quite funny. Okay?
All right.
You have anything to recommend, Ted?
I don't. I watched American Hustle this week from 2013. That's how up to date I am.
That's pretty good, though.
It was a good movie.
That was a good
I
movie.
liked it. Good cast. I fell in love with Amy. Is it Amy Adams? Is that her name? Yeah, she's sexy.
You should watch the John Wick movies.
Yes, I should.
That
I
was
think
your
I
homework.
think I actually looked them up, but I don't have whatever service they're on. I don't have it, so I'll just switch services. That's what I like about the streaming services. You can quit anytime. You don't get penalized. Move over to another one. So that's what I'll do.
Okay. Let's.
You okay?
Yeah,
You hurt yourself? Industrial podcast accident.
Am I okay? Am I too close to the mic? We're going to say hi to our friends. I heard you tell Scott that Pierre is on his way to Antwerp again.
Pierre from Robert Richer Jewelers leaves for Antwerp a month from the date of this recording. It's March 10th today. He leaves on April 10th for his, is it semi-annual? If you go twice, semi-annual visit to the diamond factories in the diamond capital of the world, Antwerp, Belgium. So if you have a big event coming up that you might want to purchase a big old honkin' stone for it, talk to Pierre before he goes. Drop in and see them at 309 Dorval Avenue in Dorval. Scott also mentioned that he went in there and Scott's wife Paula got the battery changed in her watch, and on the house they cleaned her jewelry while she was there.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what the Richets do.
they're
And he
such
said
good people.
exactly what we tell you every week. They're lovely, lovely people. And Scott bought one of these suicide prevention awareness bracelets like I have. They're only $35, and Robert Richer Jewelers gives half of that to the Quebec Society for Suicide Prevention Awareness. So multiple reasons to go in and see them. It's good news that Pierre's off to Antwerp, because for you and me, that means chocolates are coming. No pressure, Pierre. There's never any sense of expectation or entitlement.
Yeah, we were going to drop in and see them yesterday until my car broke down, because we were in the neighborhood and I had extra time until my car broke down, and Ted rode to my rescue.
Great folks with tremendous products and price points for all budgets as well. You don't have to buy a $10,000 diamond when you go in. You can buy the $35 suicide prevention awareness bracelet, and it's a beautiful bracelet.
Yeah, and lots of necklaces and earrings and all kinds of things for all kinds of budgets.
Robert Richer Jewelers, they're at 309 Dorval Avenue in Dorval, right across from the Tower of Babylon, and online at robertricher.ca. And Playground.
Yes, our other sponsor, Playground Poker.
On the 138 in Ganawage, they have a splash page with an exclusive offer for standing by listeners and viewers. If you go to www.playground.ca/standing-by, make sure you put in the www. I'm not sure why. I just know that you have to. www.playground.ca/standing-by. And the splash page comes up and gives you an opportunity to win up to $100 in free play at Playground. Just spin the online wheel, fill in the form. They give you an option of getting your player's card. I suggest you take that option. It doesn't cost anything, and it gives you access to all of the privileges that Playground has to offer, including discounts at their restaurants. They've got 3 fantastic restaurants on site at Playground, as well as over 1,200 gaming machines and 65 poker tables. It's a world-class gaming house, the strip without the trip, they like to call themselves, on the 138 in Ganawage. Playground.ca. Take advantage of that exclusive offer for the Standing By audience.
I want to say hi to Christian Herrera, who's from the Dominican Republic, has been living in Montreal for almost 7 years. And he said that he had been listening to the radio program for many years, heard us talking about the Dominican last week or a couple of weeks ago, and said, I really enjoyed the episode when you talked about my country. And I'm glad that you and your wife enjoyed your stay. And he told Ted where to find the baseball and whatnot. So thank you,
I think
Christian.
He said Santo Domingo, did he not?
He
Is
did.
where you go for baseball?
In La Romana, 1 hour and
there
a
you
half
go.
away from Punta Cana.
He also told a great story about his son being a big curling fan. And a curler, in
Yes,
fact.
yeah.
How's that for a Quebec story?
Yeah, that's
a guy from the Dominican Republic
Yeah.
who's taken up curling.
Yeah, we loved the letter, Christian. Thank you very much. We got a lot of nice notes in the last couple of weeks that I've ignored because, not ignored, but wanted to read them on the podcast, but we get carried away sometimes, and also our printer broke because I like to print print the email out and then read it on the podcast. I'll try and do more of that next week. So that's a reminder for me to tell you to go to terryandtedpodcast.com. That's the perfect spot to leave us an email, to find out where the episodes are, to visit older episodes. Ted posted a link last week to our episode with Dick Irvin, which was one of our most listened to episodes.
Dick turned 94 last week.
Unbelievable,
Yeah.
amazing. And happy birthday to Mr. Irvin. It was great when we had him on. And those are the kinds of things you can find if you go to terryandtedpodcast.com. We'd like for you to subscribe to the Standing By YouTube channel. You go to the website, and there's a YouTube link there. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, that helps us out. We're up to 800 something now. So, you know, for our local podcast, that's pretty good. You can follow us on social media. There's the Terry and Ted podcast page on Facebook, Instagram, and also we're on X. And if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, that helps us a lot. If you listen to other podcasts, and I'm sure you probably do, you hear other people say, please leave us a review because it helps us. And it really does. It helps other people find the podcast. Our guest today, Scott Phelan, we thank him as he was going out the door. He said there's a lot of people that don't know we have a podcast. So tell your friends.
Yeah, I run into people all the time who say, I miss you and Terry. And I say, or no, actually, they say, I miss you and Ted. Yeah. And I say, I'm Ted. And they go, yeah, I miss you and Terry. Yeah. And I say, well, you don't have to. We've got a podcast.
Yeah. How's Larry doing? Tell him I said hello. Our
celebrity can be a cruel mistress, eh?
Yeah.
I should say marginal celebrity can be a cruel mistress.
Yeah, really. Our thanks to Mano, who's our producer here in studio, and our thanks to our executive producer, that is Jessica Dion. And we are going to be back next week with another edition of the podcast. And again, we forgot to take a picture with our guest, but we will. Ted and I have guests, and they say, you know, you got to take a picture. It's good for social media. And we go, yep, we're going to do that.
And then we forget.
Our thanks to Scott Phelan for spending time with us. And our thanks to you for downloading. We'll see you next week.
Standing By. The Terry and Ted podcast is hosted by Terry DeMonte and Ted Bird and is brought to you by the UPS Store Canada. The executive producer of Standing By is Jessica Dion.